Covering a developing story in Marion County, more victims have come forward to accuse a former City of Ocala employee of sexually battering them as minors. TV 20's Zetlali Salachi joins us live from the Edie Krosky Center in Zetlali. How many victims have come forward?
Paige, the accusations came a week after 46-year-old Roosevelt Overstreet was accused of having sex with a minor and recording it. And now 2 more victims have come forward. The 2 victims have accused Overstreet, a former Parks and Recreation employee, of sexually battering them as children. Last Thursday, Overstreet
Whenever it's a kid involved and it's a trusted employee, somebody that's in the community and sort of outshines others with the love for kids, it's never easy to take. It's a horrible thing.
A 19-year-old woman called the Ocala Police Department to report that Overstreet had engaged in sexual activity with her starting when she was in 7th grade. The victim said some of the incidents occurred at the Boys and Girls Club where he worked. On Friday, detectives spoke to a 3rd alleged victim and told him Overstreet and she began a relationship when she was 15 years old. She later began pregnant, and a paternity test concluded he was the father. Coming up at 10 and 11, you'll have more reaction from parents. Live in Ocala, Zetlali Salache, TV 20 News.